Good afternoon and welcome to the Committee of Adjustment for February 16th. My name is Brian and I'm going to be the chair of the meeting today. First order of business is disclosure of any pecuniary interest and the general nature thereof by anyone. Robert.
Yes, I'm representing, I don't even know what the number is now. 31 and 33 Everett Street, and I have to see what the number is. Oh yeah, 4.4, it's 04/23. So I'll be sitting out for that one.
Okay. And any other?
I have one other that's not a conflict, but I want to declare myself as an employee of Loyalist College. They're going to be coming before us today as well, but I have no pecuniary interest in it.
Okay, thank you. Anything else? If not, then we'll move on. Thank you. Okay, our first application today is an application for a minor variance, and it is A0123 172 Ann Street, Belleville, and the owner is Jacob Stewart. And Eric, you can start us off.
Certainly, Mr. Chair. Application for minor variance A0123 has been submitted for the above noted property. It is zoned residential fourth density. The city's records indicate that this is a non-conforming residential building with 4 units. At some point, since the passing of the zoning bylaw, a 5th unit was added without seeking proper planning approval. This application seeks to legalize the existing situation. The applicant requests that the committee recognize the expansion of the non-conforming use to permit 1 additional residential unit in a 4-unit dwelling. The official plan designation of the subject property is residential land use, and staff have received comments from 6 members of the public against this proposal. Back to you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Eric. Is Mr. Stewart with us today? Would you want to come forward, please? Okay, if you just push the gray button there so the red is on. Okay, do you have any additional comments that you would like to make today?
Yeah, I was told today that there was somebody had issues with the parking here, but the parking that we do have allowable is 7 spaces, which is what is required for the amount of units, as well as the fact that here in Belleville, I know that I've lived here for a long time, and I know that we have difficulty with apartments right now, especially. So I think that it would be good for our community, and I don't really know what else to
Okay, does anybody have
forward with.
any questions for Mr. Stewart? Robert?
Hi, through the chair. Just for clarity, this unit is already in existence. It's just to recognize it. We're not actually adding a unit to this, so it's not going to increase any more parking than what is already there.
Yeah, this unit here has been there since I purchased the house in, I believe, 2016. It's just now we're in the finishing stages of it. I just haven't had the money to do it previous. Yeah.
Anybody else have questions? Okay. So there's 5 units there. Do all of the tenants have vehicles?
All of the current tenants do have vehicles, yes.
Okay.
But there's 7 allotted parking spaces.
Yeah, I think there's actually
9, but
is there? Yeah, but you
but
only
I was
require.
told by City Hall that by their measurements today, there's only 7. Is what I believe you said.
Eric, is that?
Through the chair, essentially at what we were looking at earlier today was the 7 requirement within the bylaw.
Okay.
At 5 residential units, the requirement is 7 parking spaces. Those 2 additional ones, well noted on the plan there, only 7 are required.
Okay.
Yeah, and from my research, the dimensions that we have there allows up to 9 parking spaces. That's what I looked up online anyways.
So you've got room for 9 vehicles, but you only require, or parking spots, but you only require 7. So there are essentially visitor parking or whatever, additional parking.
Yes, and my other thing with, I don't know, maybe some of the people, like I used to live right across the road from here. I rented the house directly across the road for a long time, and there's several apartment buildings on that street. So I do understand people's concern with being able to come up and down the street, but I wouldn't say that all of the issues of parking are coming from 172, 174 Ann Street. It's just there's several multi-unit residential properties on the street as well.
The fact that there was comments made about people parking illegally on the street, we can't control that on this committee. It's, if they're parking on the street not legally, then there's bylaw, police that can deal with that, but we can't deal with people that park illegally on the street.
And when I read the comment, I only briefly read it because it was only put on yesterday, and then I just was made aware of it today, and I was at work. So I just briefly read it prior to coming here. But I feel the same way. It's like you can't control where people park, and if they have an issue with it, I feel they could maybe call the city and get a parking ticket, and then people would be less inclined to park in that area, or maybe they get towed or something like that. But as I indicated earlier, the allotted spaces are enough for what I'm asking for.
Okay, Robert, you had a question?
Question slash comment. So I did go to the property and I walked it, and I did see that from my count, it was at least 8 spaces that you had. However, I do want to draw your attention to how it's being plowed right now. The big mound that's halfway up the driveway only allows for 4 cars to be in there. So I think you need to attack your plowing a little different to accommodate the parking that's there. And if that's done, then I see you maintaining your parking requirement.
I totally agree with you. I have a contractor that comes and does the plowing, and I've had complaints from my tenants, like various complaints from my tenants. I'm sure that they've been overloaded or whatever, but I have spoken with the contractor in regards to the way that he clears the property, because I have had several complaints from my tenants. So I'm trying to address that issue.
Okay, any other questions for Mr. Stewart? Okay, just have a seat, and we may call you back again to answer any other questions. But
Okay, perfect.
okay.
Thank you.
We do have some general people from the public that wish to comment. So, who would like to be first for Ann Street? Come up to the podium, please. Let us know your name.
Yes, Joy Humphrey.
Okay, and Joy, where do you live in relation to this property?
168.
168. Okay. Okay, proceed.
I think the owner has done a good job in creating good rental suites, which we all know is necessary. The plan that is shown on this sketch, okay, I understand that the planner has been back out as recently as today.
Through the chair, yesterday I did visit the property
Yesterday,
again.
Okay, because there were some things that weren't shown on the plan that I think impact the parking. And one of the other, so I'm going to start with the question first. My understanding was it was 4 units, of which there was 1 bachelor and 3 2-bedrooms originally. Now, somewhere along the way, it was mentioned that another suite was added, which is a 2-bedroom suite, that this is why the minor variance has been requested. Can somebody clarify that? Because
Well, according to Mr. Stewart, this unit was added sometime prior to 2016, and it was there when he purchased the residence, my
was it
understanding
a
is.
2-bedroom or a 1-bedroom at the time? That's what I'd like to know. Because the current tenant, one of the current tenants that is there has 2 vehicles, okay? That's fine, that's expected. If he's doing nice units, they will allow for a good rent, okay? Which means that you would probably have professional type couples or people that can afford at least a 2-bedroom unit, right? So if we're talking about 4 units with 2 bedrooms, it could be at least 8 vehicles, okay? And then the 5th unit now is a bachelor, a 1-bedroom, I understand, on the main floor. So I'd like to just clarify that. But anyway, so I think it's a great thing, okay? He's done a nice job. It's just to do with the volume of space allowed or not allowed with regard to the density of this property now. There's basically no backyard, okay? So we have the north side is all paved driveway, and the south side is partially paved up to a certain area, and then there's a bit of grass, okay? So the front yard now is partially grass, and the rest of the front yard is now gravel, which is offset, where you have to drive in and turn, and it's quite a turn, okay, to reverse into it or turn forward into it, because the radius is limited because of the north side of the property perimeter. So right now on the sketch, it didn't show the porch, the hydro pole, and those elements that are going to affect parking. Okay, now obviously you can move steps, you can move them back, etc. The hydro pole, I don't think you can move. So the concern is now we have four units with 2 bedrooms. Okay, that could allow for quite a density of people living there. And I realize he's going to be a good landlord, so he's going to try to check to make sure there's not 2 couples in each of the 2-bedroom units. Okay, but people are people, and I think the parking is dubious. The reason for that is when people open their doors with regard to the three parking spaces that are shown on the sketch on the lower left-hand side. By the time you open your door, wacko wacko. Anyway, there is a limited space, and I understand that. So I was never aware that, and right now I'm not sure how many tenants are in, but at least I've seen some familiar vehicles. So right now the units are not fully occupied that I'm aware of, and maybe the owner can address that. So the ongoing frequency of people parking there is not known yet, okay? Because we don't know how many people will have 2 cars, 1 car, and maybe no cars, which would be great. But anyway, so that's all I want to say. I'm pleased that he's done such a good job, and that's it.
Okay, does anybody have any questions
Any
for this
question?
lady? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. And who's next to make a comment on Ann Street? Anybody else? Nobody else for Ann Street. Okay. Does the committee have any other questions, concerns, comments? Just to reiterate here again, there are 5 units that exist. They have since prior to 2016. There are additional, there's a sufficient parking for this property. The parking illegally on the street, we can't do anything about it. So other than that, I see no reason why that we can't go ahead and approve this application. Yep.
So it was raised how many bedrooms there are total. I believe that does affect the parking count. Greg, can you comment, or Eric?
There we go. Guess it only allows one at a time. Through the chair, parking is governed by the number of residential dwelling units in the building. For this instance, there's 5, generating a requirement of 1.25 spaces per unit. We do round up. Technically, it is under 7, but we will round up to 7 as you can't have half a space
Right.
provided. Bedrooms are not accounted for in that parking requirement.
Okay. Scott?
So when this property was purchased in 2016, it was purchased with already an illegal unit in it. Is that what we're?
That's my understanding. Mr. Stewart, are you still there?
Yeah.
Do you want to come up and? His question was, when you purchased this in 2016, there were 5 units in the building at that time.
Yeah, this unit has been an the reason why the city, I believe, came was because we had an issue with our water line coming out to the drain or whatever, because it was like the really old ones that are made out of clay, and it had been obstructed, so we needed to replace that piece. But that unit that was existing, we would only have been using for a laundry room because I didn't at the time have the money to do the renovations. So we had it as a laundry space for the other units here on site or whatever. So So that's all we were using it for, was just the main room in the front, as you can see in the plans. But, yeah, I just, apologize. Should have shut this off before I came in here. But yeah, no,
So you purchased it with this kind of like gray area space, and it wasn't necessarily a unit at that time.
well, it was
but
definitely an apartment because it already had a bathroom
Okay.
and a bedroom, and it had like the countertops for a kitchen.
right.
But like the plumbing in that aspect of it, all those were clay pipes, and they were all broken.
Right.
And so I would have had to replace all the plumbing and everything going to the bathroom. If you want to pull up the drawing there, in the bathroom in the back of the unit, which I did not have the money to
Right.
do. So I've left it, the plumbing in the front where the kitchen sink was. That was what we ran the public washer and dryer off of.
Right.
And that's all we used it for, just because we didn't have the money.
So the previous owner who created this new space never applied for what we're applying for today. Is that?
Yeah, apparently, I was told when I first started coming into the city that there was only 3 units in there altogether that were known about. So, yeah.
Okay.
It's just,
So previous owners that didn't follow the.
yeah.
Okay. All right.
Clearly
Thank you.
They couldn't
Thank you
have
for
been.
clarifying that. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Stewart. So really, what is happening here is nothing's changed. All we're doing is technically recognizing the fact that there are 5 units there and making it so-called legal now. That's basically what we're doing today.
Basically, yeah, I was just in the rezoning so that I can have a legal unit there that has the proper fire separation and everything that's required to have an apartment.
Okay, any other questions for this gentleman? Okay, if not, thank you, Mr. Stewart.
Thank you.
Okay, if there's no further questions, then a motion? Robert,
I motion to approve.
seconded by Joe. All in favor? Done. Thank you very much. Okay, moving along. Our next application is an application for a minor variance A0223 288 University Avenue, City of Belleville, and the owner is Highfield Investment Group. Eric.
Application for minor variance A0223 has been submitted for the above noted property. It is zoned Prestige Industrial Commercial MCP 1 zone with special provisions and is undeveloped. The applicant is proposing an increased maximum lot coverage of 48% to facilitate the construction of a 34,794 square meter main building. The official plan designation of the subject property is industrial land use, and staff have not received any comments from the public regarding this application at this time. Back to you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Is there anyone from Highfield Investments here today? Good afternoon, and you are?
I'm Ben Clare. I'm a planner with Macintosh Perry.
Okay,
I've got an 8-minute presentation thereabouts that I'd like to run through at the appropriate juncture. Is that time now?
okay, go ahead.
Yeah.
You're allowed 10 minutes, so your 8 will.
Okay, perfect. And I might spend 2 of those loading up the presentation here. Oh, there we go. Thanks, Eric. No worries. Oh, and what was the key you suggested I use? Alt. Okay. There you go. There we are. Perfect. All right, so I've said good afternoon to you, Mr. Chair. Good afternoon, other committee members, staff, and members of the public. I mentioned my name is Ben Clare. I'm a planner with Macintosh Perry, and I've been retained by Highfield Investment Group, who is working with McHale Logistics and the City of Belleville in relation to the proposed development of the subject lands. So I'm here to discuss the appropriateness of the variance that's been applied for. Any luck, I'll be able to advance to the next slide. Here I go. All right. So this is just an overview of what I'm going to cover. I'll skip that slide in the interest of time. So the subject lands are in Belleville's Northeast Industrial Park, immediately south of the 401, and they're accessible by way of frontage on University Avenue, where the east-west portion and northwest portion of that avenue intersect. A little bit more about the subject lands. They're presently owned by the city of Belleville, unless anything has changed in the last couple of days. And they're in the process of being sold to the subsidiary of McHale Logistics, which is identified in the maroon colored box there. In terms of the area, the subject lands currently measure 7.36 hectares, or 18.2 acres, and they've got 10 meters roughly of frontage on University Avenue. A couple of things are changing with respect to the subject lands. One is the MTO has requested a taking along Highway 401. That taking is about 232 square meters of property from the northeast corner of the property, and I'll show you that on the site plan shortly. It's related to lot coverage. And the other is the legal frontage of the subject lands is changing, as the city of Belleville will be receiving a conveyance from the neighbor 294 University Avenue, which is STEG, in order to iron out the access point of the subject lands. Oops. Some photos for context. The subject lands are bound by industrial lands in general, with the exception of the 401, which is to the north. The first photo here is taken, top left is taken from University Avenue facing north towards the highway. The next one is from University Avenue again, facing westward. And then the third one is from the subject lands facing generally towards the southeast along University Avenue. I'm not going to spend very much time talking about the proposed development, as we're here today to talk about the variance specifically. But just in terms of context in general, the subject lands are designated industrial land use under the current official plan, and they're zoned prestige industrial commercial under the zoning bylaw. The warehouse is proposed, Eric mentioned, it's 34,794 square meters, which is approximately 375,000 square feet. It's a big one. With respect to the MTO's taking, that has affected the overall area of the building. In order to maintain the 14-meter setback from the MTO's right-of-way, 45 square meters have had to come out of the building, and I'll show you that on the next slide. If you can, I'll move my cursor over the top, the northeast portion of the building, and there's a little divot out there. That's had to come out of the building, and you'll see that on the next submission through site plan control. We can come back to this site plan as needed, but in general, at a very high level, I've described the building. There's 20 dock doors presently proposed, 109 parking spaces, which both exceed the bylaw's minimum requirements, and the height at present is coming at around 12.8 meters, which satisfies the bylaw's requirement of maximum requirement of 15 meters. The next slide is the landscape plan, which we can come back to if required, and this one hasn't yet been updated. This is the version that was submitted, or an excerpt of that. Just in terms of background, this slide is just intended to communicate that there's a concurrent site plan control process. We've identified the comments that have been received in January. Those are for site plan. The comments that have been received for this application were received much more recently, February 9th. In terms of the relief requested, and there's the last couple slides here I'll spend most of my time on, the maximum required lot coverage is the variance that's been applied for. So 40% is the maximum that is permitted, and relief in the amount of 8% is what's being applied for. The application documentation referred to exceedances of 7.33 and 7.88. And we've had subsequent correspondence with staff to clarify that after the taking, the actual exceedance will be about 7.42%. Staff made a helpful suggestion that 8% would probably simplify things and also allow for some flexibility depending on the specific dimensions of the land that's actually taken from the MTO. It's kind of based on currently understood datums and trajections and whatnot in the AutoCAD drawing that we're not 100% sure of, but that 8% should capture any alterations. In terms of the appropriateness of what's proposed, I'll be brief here. The planning rationale, or the brief that we submitted with the application, addresses most of this. But in short, the official plan policy that is related to appropriate site development is satisfied, as evidenced by the proposal's compliance and conformity with other performance standards and policies, and the evidence presented in the technical studies that have been submitted. Staff's report also helpfully notes that the proposal is compliant or conforms to the new official plan, which I understand is not yet in effect or hasn't been approved by the ministry. With respect to the zoning bylaw, the bylaw is upheld in that the functionality of the development has been demonstrated by way of the submission materials, and that there are no compatibility concerns with neighboring land uses. The relief is minor in nature, given that there's no evidence of undue adverse impact, and approval of the relief requested is desirable in that it will allow the subject lands to be developed in accordance with the official plan policy and designation and the other provisions of the zoning bylaw. In closing, I have reviewed staff's report and I concur with the recommendations. The variance represents good planning. It has due consideration for matters of provincial interest as expressed in the PPS, and committee's approval of it, in my opinion, would be appropriate in this instance. Happy to take any questions.
Okay, anybody have a question for this gentleman? Scott?
Oh, I'm just curious, I don't know if it's a city question, or has somebody done a traffic study in this area? Because I mean, certainly there's only one access to and from the 401 for this property. I mean, I realize it's industrial, but you're talking about adding a lot of bays, potentially a lot of truck traffic. I'm just curious if there's any updated traffic studies in this area to kind of preclude that, you know, can handle this increase.
Yeah, I can take that question. A traffic study was identified as being required, and it's actually being completed as we speak. The traffic study, the focus of the traffic study is on the geometry of the site access. The actual anticipated volume of employees is relatively little in consideration for the size of the building. There's 2 shifts that are currently contemplated. I believe one is a maximum of 70 employees, and the other is a maximum, I think, of 35 employees thereabout. 2 shifts per day. Which I understand. I'll let my traffic engineering colleagues speak to this, but that shouldn't introduce any issues with respect to traffic to and from the site. And I'm getting into territory I shouldn't actually go into because I'm not actually intimately familiar with the number of with the truck traffic, those volumes. But to answer your question, kind of pull back from ownership, study is being completed.
Okay. Any other questions with this gentleman?
Through you, Mr.
Joe?
Chair. Did you say 9 loading doors or 109?
20 loading doors,
20 loading doors, I'm sure I
at
got 9
present,
from.
and 109 parking spaces, for employees.
Okay, and just through you again, Mr. Chair, what's the nature of the warehouse?
So it's a warehousing facility, and my understanding is ML Logistics will be leasing it to a company called Hagen. As far as I'm aware, and I think it's, you know, contingent on obviously the transfer of lands from Belleville and site development, and then a lease eventually. But I think that's what's contemplated for the warehouse.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anything else? Anybody in the audience wishes to speak on 288 University Avenue? Take that as a no. If there's no further questions, comments, we have a motion? Okay.
Hi, Mr. Clare.
Hello.
And through you, your chair. You had mentioned that there was some sort of a property dispute between Steg and them on the property line that they were trying to come to an agreement with. Can you enlighten us on what that dispute might be and how that's going?
Certainly. So not to, through you, Mr. Chair, not to correct you, but it's not a dispute as I understand it. Yeah, no problem. But right now the point of access for the subject lands is fairly limited and somewhat awkward. It's got an awkward frontage along University Avenue, and my understanding is staff and probably the proponent have identified that there's some an opportunity to make that point of access better. So I think everyone's working together in cooperation in order to transfer a small portion of land from Steg to the city in order to expand the frontage essentially along the subject lands.
Okay.
That was my next comment, was the fact that I'm well aware of the property you're speaking of, and it is definitely a snake to get in and out of. And you're talking about a facility of 20 dock doors. That's not a small facility. That's in direct relation to what the Sears was on College Street. So the traffic study, again, I would like us to make sure we have that before we proceed any further. And you are correct in the business and how busy that business is. I'm well aware of it as well. So that was my only concern, was what that dispute was and how easily can we overcome that.
If I may respond, I appreciate your concern with respect to traffic volumes, and I think with you know, in responding to your fellow committee members' question about traffic, I might have overstepped slightly. I'm happy to let the traffic study speak for itself. That is being requested and will be reviewed. My understanding is through the site plan control process. You know, if there are concerns from the peer reviewer or staff member, by all means, we'll address those at the appropriate juncture. You know, something I think would be worth raising is that traffic is, with respect to parking and the number of dock doors and loading and whatnot, what's proposed is compliant with the bylaw in those regards. So the variance that we're here for today is lot coverage.
That's right.
But I think that concern would be addressed through the site plan process. So I do appreciate the comment.
So the variance is just to change the lot coverage from 40 to 47%. That's really what the variance and what we're dealing with.
48%, Mr.
48,
Chair,
yeah.
yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any other questions, comments, concerns? If not, a motion by Robert, Al, and seconded by Scott.
I'll second.
All in favor? Approved. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, our next application is A32320 Chatham Street, Belleville, Ontario, and the owner is Peter and Rhonda Baker. And Eric, can you update us?
Certainly, Mr. Chair. Application for minor variance A0323 has been submitted for the above noted property. It is zoned residential fourth density and is developed with a single detached dwelling and an accessory building. The applicant is proposing to construct a 24.71 square meter accessory building with side and rear yard setbacks of 0.6 meters. The official plan designation of the subject property is residential land use, and staff have not received any comments from the public regarding this application at this time. Back to you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Is Peter or Rhonda Baker with us today? Or representative? No, so what we're looking at here is just to allow for an accessory building with the setback issues. Okay. If there's no further questions, comments, then do we have a motion from anybody?
All motion.
Moved by Scott, seconded by Joe. All in favor? Approved. Thank you. Our next application is for a minor variance at A0423 31 and 33 Everett Street, and the order is Robert Krankendonk, and you have a conflict on this, so you're going to go up there and answer any questions that we have, but Eric first.
Application for minor variance A0423 has been submitted for the above noted properties. They are zoned residential fourth density and are developed with a semi-detached dwelling. The applicant is proposing to reduce the lot frontage from 8.61 meters to 8.32 meters, the lot area per dwelling unit from 250.84 square meters to 249.8 square meters for the severed parcel at 31 Everett Street. Application, the official plan designation for the subject property is residential land use, and staff have not received any comments from the public regarding this application at this time. Back to you, Mr. Chair.
Robert, do you have any additional?
Yeah, just for background, because most of the committee members are new. So this was before the committee in August and was approved, subject to a few conditions, which I've met all the conditions for. The last condition was to get an updated survey. When the updated survey came, it seemed to indicate that the property size was different than the survey that we based all the measurements off of. So the measurements that we were approved on aren't what actually exists according to the new survey. So we're just trying to recognize based on what the new survey is. We're talking about, I think, one meter off entirely, square meter.
Minor.
0.3 meters total of width, and it cost me an extra $1,150 to say that to you.
Any questions? Anybody in the audience regarding Everett Street? If not, a motion to approve by Joe, seconded by Robert Al. All in favor? Done. Thank you. Okay, back to your chair. Okay, our next application is 0523-376 Walbridge Loyalist Road, and it's Loyalist College of Applied Arts and Technology. And Eric?
Certainly, Mr. Chair. Application for minor variance A0523 has been submitted for the above noted property. The subject land is zoned community facility, CF2 zone with special provisions, environmental control E zone, and agriculture A2-8 zone is located on in its location of Loyalist College. The applicant is proposing to permit a 140 square meter addition to the east side of Loyalist College for the expansion of the existing restaurant area. The land use designation of the subject property in the Loyalist secondary plan is community facility, environmental protection, and residential land use. Staff note that the proposed addition is located within the community facility zone and land use designation. Staff have not received any comments from the public regarding this application at this time. Back to you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Anyone from Loyalist College present to comment? Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Christian Prudhomme. I'm the Director of Facilities and Security at Loyalist College. So I'm just here to ask for approval of this site. It's just a small expansion. What we're doing is we're hoping to change our restaurant that's currently on the other side of the hallway to the window side and expand on that side on the second floor. So basically on stilts, almost. A Four Seasons patio, and it's not extended any further than the current building. So it's a very, very small addition, and I think it's noted on the report that it's 0.03% of the site.
Okay. Any questions for this gentleman? Robert?
Yeah, thank you through the chair. Just for clarification, this is for the restaurant and not the cafeteria. It's for Club 213?
Correct, and I just have a question. I know, do you still work at the
I
college?
do, yeah.
Is it a conflict of interest
No,
to
I already
answer any of these
declared it.
questions? Okay.
No.
I saw you when I came in. I'm going, oh,
No.
just making sure.
Yeah, at the outset, I had declared that I am an employee of the college,
Perfect.
but I have no pecuniary interest, so there is no conflict.
Excellent. So it is not part of the cafeteria. This is part of the Resto 213
Resto
rebranded, well, the Club 213 rebranded to Resto 213, and now it's going to be called the Nourish Restaurant when it opens up.
Okay. Alrighty. Any other questions, comments? Anybody in the audience regarding Loyalist College? No? Yep.
Sorry, just for clarification, your restaurant, you're talking about moving it to an exterior wall with the windows,
Correct.
correct? When you do that, is it going to have an outside entrance for after hours to be open? Is that their plan? Is it going to be like a restaurant open for the public where the students are in a workplace environment type of a deal, training? I just was curious on the clarifications of that.
Absolutely. To address the first question, there is not going to be an outdoor access directly to the patio. Because of the recent changes that the city requested, the original plan did show 4 stairs going out, but because it's been changed from, I'll call it a 3-season is what we were looking for the patio, to a complete 4-season. With the design changes, the stairs were eliminated. And that was at the request, the changes were requested by the city. There are changes directly off of the, sorry, there is an entrance fully accessible through AODA, a wheelchair ramp, as well as stairs from the back area of the college, as well as other entrances throughout the building. Specifically, the back entrance of the college leads directly to the elevator, leads to the second floor, not even 40 feet from, or maybe 100 feet to, from the entrance of the restaurant, the proposed entrance. Your second question was, sorry? The use of the restaurant and the hours? Currently, the hours are Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Friday night, it's open, I think it closes at 8:30, 9 o'clock. Currently, there are no changes proposed to those hours, not to say that it's not gonna change in the future. It is during lunch, it's a mix of staff and public that come in and eat. At night, it's also a combination of staff and public that do come in and eat at the restaurant. So the function and the purpose is really not changing of the restaurant. Does that answer your question? Okay, perfect.
Is this
Thanks.
gonna be a two-story, or is the restaurant gonna be on the second floor?
It is all going to be on the second floor.
Okay,
So
so
it's
the
an
restaurant-
extension, it's our extension of our second floor out. And so
Okay.
it's just a larger area. So you'll have I'll call it an indoor area. And then there's going to be the outdoor area, which is going to be the patio, but it's all on the second floor.
Okay, right, Robert, you had a question?
Thank you, through the chair. Just for a point of clarification for Robert, you had also asked about how is it run. It is student-run, and it is an opportunity for the culinary students to practice what they do. And I don't think that's changing, right?
No, it hasn't changed. It's still, yes, it is. When you go there, it's student servers that are learning, and it's part of the education of the program.
Excellent restaurant, been there.
Right. Yes, thank you.
Okay, anything else for this gentleman? Okay? If not, then a motion to, for Walbridge Road, moved by Robert L., second by Joe. All in favor? Thank you. Okay. Moving right along, our next application is for consent B 27-22, B 2822, 676 Foxton Road, and the owner is Justin Bell. Eric.
Consent applications B 2622 and B 2722 have been submitted for the above noted property. It is zoned prime agriculture, PA 15 zone, with special provisions, and is developed with a single detached dwelling. The applicant proposes to create 2 new residential lots on the northern portion of the subject property. Application B 2622 proposes a new residential lot with approximately 50 meters of frontage on Foxton Road and 0.46 hectares of lot area. Application B 2722 proposes a new residential lot with approximately 45 meters of frontage on Boundary Road and 0.4 hectares of lot area. The official plan designation of the subject property is rural land use, and staff have received comments from the public, comments from 4 members of the public against this application. Back to you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, is Mr. Bell with us today? There you are. Okay, any additional comments?
Yeah, I just wanted to say I think the application's pretty clear. We have some good drawings there. Currently, the property, when I purchased it, was in a bit of disrepair. The gentleman wasn't cutting the grass. It's been overgrown. I think they purchased it in 2010, so it's been about 13 years of say, little or no maintenance. The property hasn't been agriculturally productive in that time. To give you a brief description of the property, so the lots are proposed to go in the northern portion of the property. There's approximately 5 or 6 acres that's separate from the main area where my house currently is. I live on that property. That's just basically overgrown sumacs right now. There's dilapidated fence. The entrances to the property are not accessible by vehicles or farm equipment. The property to the south of that, say where my house and lawn is, there's about 8 acres of grass that I cut, an old racetrack that the previous owner had used. But essentially, it's kind of like a golf course, it looks like. And then there's about 8 or 10 acres of bush and that sort of stuff to the very southern portion of the property. So again, the property, at least for the last 10 years, has been in a little disrepair. Before that, the original owners of the house, or builders of the house that I currently live in, it was in 1991. So again, it's always been kind of rural residents inhabited, not a productive farm operation for many years. The lots, again, are in a portion right now that, as you can see in the pictures, I don't know if you have it on your computers, but it's sumacs, it's some spruce trees, it's non-agriculturally productive, and it's a bit of an eyesore. So the proposed lots would not only clean that up, but also, I guess, give a little bit more of a community feel back to the property.
Okay, any questions for Mr. Bell? Go ahead, Scott.
And your intention is to sell these lots, or are you gonna develop them yourself? Is that-
Yeah, I'd sell them likely.
Okay. Anyone else have? So you don't farm this, you just live on the property?
Yeah, I moved. I actually originally grew up about 10 minutes from the property. I just, in 2022, I had a dairy farm outside of Peterborough I sold and moved back to the area, so.
Yeah, where those two lots are proposed, they're not good for anything else.
No.
Other than just, if they cleaned up, they could probably make a decent lot.
Yeah, I tried to cut a bit of lawn in there this year. There's some rocks and sticks, and it's a bit of a mess.
And you're aware that they want a hydro G
Yep.
assessment, okay?
Absolutely.
All right. Okay, we may call you back in a minute.
Sure.
Okay, there's some members of the public would like to comment, so who's first? Come up and tell us who you are and make your brief comments.
Hi, I'm Richard Reed, so I do farm. We are the neighbors of Chestnuts.
Are you on Boundary or on
We are on
Foxton?
Boundary.
You're on Boundary, okay.
So my dad's farm actually borders 3 different lands, 3 different properties. And so we've gone through this before years ago. And back then, one of the, I'm gonna call him a developer for lack of a word, off every one of those 3 properties combined, he's gotten 14 lots, if not more. So we are the northern part of Thurlow. You know, it's agricultural based. There's no benefit for Thurlow or Belleville to have lots out there. There's no benefit for the farming community to have lots in that corner. We personally rented that property back when there was no houses and stuff on there, and we farmed it. Yeah, I guess that's all I got to say. We have a lot of concerns to traffic on there for farm traffic on that road can get pretty intense in the summertime. There is dump truck traffic on that road from 3 gravel pits that are around the corner, and that is the northern route for them delivering materials, and also the Shannoville roads is also their access. So there are times in the summertime where it's just traffic. That corner is one of those country corners that is a Y, and who stops going which way. And that's it.
Okay, any questions for this gentleman? No? Okay, thank you, Richard.
No.
Okay, and who's next?
Hi, I'm Harold Reed. My wife Joan and I own the 170-acre farm that's adjacent to the property that they want to sever 2 lots off. And we basically have 2 concerns that's, I think, pretty important. The first is because of the closeness of the proposed lots, we are concerned of the odor and the noise of a farm operation. And we all know that there are odors and, you know, the noise of the machinery and stuff. And so we're concerned about, you know, the problems with the neighbors because of this. And our second concern, I guess, is the closeness of the entrances to the two lots on Foxton Road. Like, they're close to already dangerous intersection of Foxton and Boundary. And this would cause more danger for the traffic. And of course, the farm machinery now that use the road are bigger, and they take up more room on the roads, and we're just would cause more danger at the intersection. It is a dangerous intersection right now, and of course there's always we have, I don't know how many school buses, I really haven't counted them, but there's at least 3 night and day that use the roads, and it's pretty dangerous. Anyway, that's basically our main 2 concerns. Of course, there's others, but thank you for listening.
Okay, any questions for this gentleman? Robert?
Yeah, thank you through the chair. So just, I'm noting, looking at the street view, that there is a stop sign there. Is that stop sign not there anymore? Is that causing an issue, or what is?
No, it's there, but you know, it's the Boundary Road. It's hidden for a while there. It comes down over a hill and up, and the stop sign is at the top of the hill. So you really can't see. Unless you get out right on Boundary Road, you can't really see the traffic coming east on Boundary Road from Foxton. It's a bad corner.
There's a stop sign at Foxton and Boundary Road? Or
Pardon
just,
me?
is there a stop sign just on Foxton where it comes onto Boundary Road?
Yeah, just at Foxton.
There's not one on Boundary Road? We go straight through?
It's a through road.
Okay, alrighty. Any other questions? Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you
Okay.
for listening.
And who else is on the list here?
Hi, Chair. I'm Sherry Meeks, and I live just to the north, and I'm on Boundary Road. So my husband and I live to the north of the proposed lots. So my main concern is, and I know there's a hydro G study being done. My main concern is we've lived out there I've been out there for almost 50 years. We've had major water problems out there for some of the people that live out there. Whether it's a drilled well or whether it's a dug well, there's been issues with quality and with quantity. So when you talk about 2 additional lots in an area that's already got some concerns, I'm not opposed to be honest, I'm not opposed to a lot, but I am kind of wondering why we need to have 2 lots. This is not a subdivision, this is the country, and you add more and more people out there, and then you deal with those issues of water quality, and people have had sulfur, people have had other issues from a conservation perspective. The other perspective is what already has been addressed, which is the closeness to that intersection at Foxton and Boundary, and the egress and ingress of coming in and out of those driveways to the proximity of the stop sign. That is, like everybody has already stated, an extremely busy road, and it has gotten busier and busier as a cross between 37 and 62 highway. People are using it as a cross between. It's also a detour, official detour, when there are issues on either one of those highways. It is used. So there is a large quantity of traffic, and I'm worried about the additional traffic concerns of people trying to get out of their driveways there when you're in close proximity to a stop sign like that. And there is no stop sign on Boundary.
Okay.
Okay.
Any questions? Scott? Doesn't want to work?
I'd just like to, when you mentioned water issues, are we talking like every year you're running out of water, just the quality of water goes down? Is it every other year? Is it every couple of years?
It's sometimes cyclical, and it depends on
How much water we get, how much
lots
snow
of
we get,
factors
right?
and where.
Yeah.
Some people have no problems.
Right.
Some people have lots of problems and have had to dig new wells because of problems.
Wow. Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
The Hydro G study is going to determine whether that's going to be, there's sufficient water or quality and everything else there, and that's one condition.
Okay. Yeah,
of that.
and I saw that, yeah.
Eric, is there an issue as far as access on those lots, on that property, distance for site? There's no issue there?
So, as noted in the report, the development technologist had noted that the parcels shall conform to the driveway control bylaw for the city of Belleville. That bylaw there would dictate the location of the driveways.
Okay, so that'll, okay, any other questions for this lady? Okay, you have a question?
Thank you through the chair. The question is actually maybe best directed to Greg or Eric. Is there something that can be done with the traffic that's there? Could we put a second, like make it a three-way stop sign, or could we recommend that? Because I don't even note that there's any speed signs out there. What is the speed on that
Probably
road?
50, I don't know.
80.
Okay,
And noting what I've seen here is anywhere near that intersection, there are no speed signs that I have seen posted.
okay.
Is there something we can ask the city to do there to help with the traffic issues?
Certainly, through the chair, I would suggest that this is something that the committee could perhaps send to the traffic committee for consideration.
Okay. All right, is there anyone else that wishes to comment on Foxton Road?
Boundary, so that's right beside the proposed lots. I think my concern is that, one, we are in the country, so these parcels, when they get parceled off like this, that's more of a, a city kind of a proposal. So there's small lots and small little houses go up. And in a prime agricultural situation, that it's just not appropriate. But the other thing is that so everybody gets the public concerns, they get to read them. Historically, there's been these multiple severances, like up to 14 in that original lot. But every time a new owner, it originally was a farm purchased, and it just keeps getting severed. So every time there's a new owner, so if these severances happen, I'm told that there's no more severances allowed for the duration of the plan.
That's correct.
However, your plans get updated. So then there's a new owner, and at some point, we need to, the neighbors need to be heard that these severances have to stop.
Eric, you can maybe address that.
Certainly, Mr. Chair. So, in the current official plan, the rural land use designation permits 2 severances of any parcel that's 2 hectares or larger, given that it hasn't been severed since January 1st of 1998. In the new official plan with the ministry right now, those provisions are still maintained. That would further prohibit severances past 2.
Regardless of who owns it.
Correct.
For the duration of this plan, but then when there's a new plan, the owner could then apply for 2 more severances.
We don't know that. That's something that could happen in the future, it could not.
It has been happening because that's what we're seeing. Every time that there's a new plan, 2 new severances happen out there.
Eric, do you have any?
Sorry, through the chair, I think just to sort of echo what my colleague was saying is that the current official plan that we're dealing with came in 2002, and it said no severance, or 2 severances maximum past 1998. We're working on a new official plan now that's about to be approved, so this is going on 21 years later, and it's still maintaining that 1998 date for the cutoff. So I mean, at this point, in another 10 years, when the official plan gets reviewed again, I guess, at that point it'll have to be looked at again. But at this point, we're still maintaining that cutoff from 1998.
So the answer is that if there's a new proposed plan, when that happens, owners can then apply for 2 new severances?
Not exactly. It's something where we have to, when we're reviewing the official plan, the city staff and our consultants look at the amount of land out there that's available for rural severances, because provincial policy dictates that you're supposed to have a limited amount. And so essentially they did a study this time around a few years ago when they were starting the update process, and they said, there's still lots of land out there that hasn't hasn't maximized this policy, so there's no reason to increase it. So, I mean, that was the justification that we got that's gone into this current update. And, I mean, I guess depending on what happens, it could change in the future. It's a bit of crystal ball work, but, you know, we're seeing for the time being that there's still lots of land out there.
Okay, and so just for some context too, you're dealing with some families, like we're fifth generation farmers out there. So when 10 years may seem like a long time, but when you've lived out there all your life and you see these proposed applications for severances go through, it's hard to keep coming to the table to argue against them. So I also, it is a very dangerous intersection, so I support that argument, and so doing a hydrogeological study is great, and when it finds maybe that there's available water for those two lots, that still will decrease the amount of water that the neighboring people get, so.
Well, that study, I'm sure, will take into consideration all those
Hopefully,
things.
yes, 'cause
Yeah.
it is a concern. It's a drought concern.
Yeah. Okay, any questions for Jen? No. Any questions for anybody?
Yes, thank you, through the chair. It's been brought up that it's prime agricultural land. Is that what it's zoned as?
Through the chair, the zoning is prime agriculture. However, the official plan designation is rural land use, which governs the severance policies.
Okay. All right. Is there anybody else in the audience that wishes to comment on Foxton Road? Okay. And Mr. Bell, do you have any further comment before we proceed?
Sure. I just want to follow up. I understand the neighbor concerns. Obviously, the hydrogeological study is also a concern for me, as I do live on the property directly south of where these two proposed lots would be. So I want to make sure that I'm also not going to be shorted of water. The intersection, I know we've talked about Foxton and Boundary Road. I don't know if my property is part of the concern because of the overgrown brush and trees that kind of line that corner. Which obviously could be cleaned up, no concerns. The Powers, which own the property directly west of mine on Boundary Road, there is some large trees there too. I don't know if some of that would have to be trimmed to help improve visibility, or if we do look to maybe a traffic control stop sign or speed reduction, something in the area. Obviously, entrances into those lots would have to conform to the bylaws within distance to the intersections, etc. The way the lots are set, I would still have land on the east and west side of them. If it required for some reason, some sort of an easement to make happen, it's still available, or I'm not going to say no to that. I understand too, like the Gerald and Reed family live directly east of my property. So actually there's a severance that they live on that was done. I don't know when it was severed off. They do have a beautiful stone house there, and we'd express concern of them, with concerns of having neighbors versus they have a country yard next to them right now. And I've also talked about in that the distance between their property and where the proposed lots would be, we could put some more trees or have an area to buffer them between them and the neighbors. Again, I grew up just about 10 minutes west of here on Townsend Road. I grew up in a community where there was a density of houses and small lots in a rural area. I know that's not in the question right now, but I grew up with a bunch of friends that were in my age group, and it was pretty great to have a close proximity to all my friends, and that's why I moved back to the area. Again, in this corner where these two lots are proposed, it's scrub brush. It kind of looks trashy. I'm not pleased with the way it looks. I'm kind of embarrassed by it, and I have been trying to clean up the property since I purchased it. I think not only the lots will help to clean that and have new owners there that will help to maintain that, but also taking into concerns what the neighbors have said about water directly impact me too, and I'd like to make sure that I'm not going to run out of water as well. So.
And the Hydro-G should
absolutely, yeah,
help with that issue if there is one.
Yeah. Okay.
Any other questions for this gentleman or anybody? Okay. Thank you, Mr. Bell.
Thank you.
Okay. So we have no further comments, so I guess that our next issue is that we have a motion to, you're approving?
I would like to motion to approve the application, and I don't know if we add it to this motion, but I think we should send something off to the Transportation Committee to do some sort of study of what needs to be done out there, maybe if it's clear cutting the corner so it's more visible for people pulling out.
Sight lines on the, at the
Yes.
stop sign. Yep. And you moved and seconded by Robert L. Okay, all in favor? Approved, thank you. Okay. Alrighty. Sherry, you didn't sign this form. Did you want to sign this form for? Sure. Okay, just so that you're aware that what you said may be public.
Yeah, thank you. That's the same. And then I did, and then, yes, okay. There you go. Thank you.
Alrighty, that I think ends our agenda for today. Our next item is the,
I think there was something.
yeah, but that's under other business, isn't it? Yeah, okay. The general, the confirmation of the minutes of January the 19th. Does anybody read them, have any comments, concerns? If not, a motion to approve. Moved by Robert, second by Scott. All in favor? Okay, other business. There was another item that, and I didn't print off the new app. It's to do with an adjustment to a previous decision. Okay, if just maybe explain to us what's happening there.
Sorry, do we have a slide for it? I'm just trying to remember what it is.
Could we get that a slide, please?
Ah, there it is. Oh, yes, okay. So, Committee of Adjustment had previously approved a severance and lot addition with the intention that the northern property there would be added to the property to the north of it.
Yes.
The intent is actually for it to be added to the property to the west. So by virtue of the way the decision was written, we need to bring it back to see if the committee is amenable to amending the decision to allow that lot addition to take place to go to the property to the west. It was an oversight on my part, I think, at the time, because the owners to the north and the owners to the west have the same last name but are not actually the same people.
So just, we're changing east to west.
Basically, instead of that parcel attaching to the piece north of it, it would attach to the piece west of it.
Okay, so we'll need a motion to make that adjustment. So do we have a motion? Moved by Joe, seconded by Robert. All in favor? Thank you. Okay, do we have any other correspondence? No? Our next meeting is March 16th and 3:30, unless we have another meeting at 3. And if no further ado, we need a motion to adjourn. Scott, thank you. Okay, thank you.